Godzilla, King of the Monsters, has been unleashed onto the world, and to celebrate, I decided to challenge myself by drawing a new Godzilla, one that combines Godzilla with Indominus Rex. So if you'd like to watch me draw a new hybrid, we're starting right now. The construction of this drawing is like many of my experimental drawings. I build the outline form as it appears in my head, and because I often already have the final form in my mind, it's simply a matter of shaping out the image with those lines roughly in place and hoping the general idea of the form fits what I have in my mind. Then I build up the shape of the head, because I actually wanted some of the elements of the Indominus Rex in this Godzilla hybrid. I tried to incorporate the bony horns of its skull on its head. The challenge with its head was I wanted enough of Godzilla's head form to be recognizable while incorporating elements of the Indominus Rex's skull structure and some of its signature scute scales and snout scales. At this point I was working with an ink pen brush because initially I wanted this to be more like a graphic novel style, but you'll soon see that I changed this because I wanted to get more details in the midtones, which is really difficult to get with ink. Now I stopped here because the head wasn't looking quite Godzilla enough or Indominus Rex enough. It was kind of looking too generic, like you'd seen some sort of Lord of the Rings style game. So you'll see that I duplicated the head and started a new version of the drawing because my right hand covers the original image and I like to have a reference as I'm drawing the new version of the head. So for the second attempt at drawing the head, I tried to go with more of a rounded approach because Indominus Rex has a rounded shaped head, but Godzilla's head is shorter in length and wider, so I tried to taper the head in a way where the snout was still short enough to be Godzilla-ish, but round enough to be Indominus Rex-ish. But also, Indominus Rex has a much more open mouth and a far more savage looking lower jaw, so I tried to incorporate that while hoping that it wouldn't overtake the Godzilla elements. I then continued on with the neck, being sure to emphasize the trademark Godzilla spines, but also incorporating the bony armor segments that the Indominus Rex neck has. And then once I'm happy with that, I can confidently replace the old head with the new head. At this stage, I was still trying to get a really stark contrast between the lights and the shadows in a very graphic novel form, and I decided to incorporate the stripy blue pattern from Blue. The only problem is drawing in a graphic novel style really limits the amount of detail you can get in the shading, and by this point I was really starting to reconsider whether I should have started this in pencil rather than ink. The more that I worked on the scales, the more I realized this was going to take forever to do in black and white, and ink is very limiting in its tonal range, and I was starting to crave the mid-tone details that you can get from pencils, so it was clear at this point that I wanted to redo it all in pencil. So I knocked down the opacity of the original artwork and I started to use that as a template for the new artwork. For some reason, the midtones that come with pencil really help add detail, and it was also nice to have a range of different shadings in the scales, some of them lighter and some of them darker. I'd use the subtle layering of shading to help build up the image, and you can already see how much more detail I was able to get out of the teeth and the scales. One thing that you're going to notice is just how many scales that I used in this image, as well as the shading and the different textures. So because a lot of the rest of this image was experimental in nature and mostly just drawing for the fun of drawing, there's not much to learn about this image. So I'm mostly just gonna have the rest of this video as a time lapse. Hopefully you'll still enjoy watching the process of me drawing it, and you'll notice that a lot of this is just mostly shadows, textures, a lot of scales, and the use of wrinkles and folds in the skin. What you can do now as a viewer to help me is watch the rest of this video and tell me if I've added too much detail or not enough detail in the actual video itself. I'm never sure if adding all the steps of the process is actually boring to watch or if it's entertaining, so if you like what you're watching, let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you have any suggestions on how I can improve my editing or how to make these videos even more entertaining, i.e. what can I cut out, should I be zooming in more, should I be showing you more of the wider angle, let me know, because I'd really like to know how I can make my videos even more entertaining for you guys to watch. There was a lot of detail in this particular drawing, and I think I spent a good several hours drawing it, so I wasn't sure what to keep, what to let go of, so hopefully you enjoy just how much effort I put into this one. So this little part of colouring is actually kind of an Easter egg. Yes, I have included the stripe of blue, but I also wanted to add in a little hint of Indoraptor colouring as well. Now it's time to place in a green background, and I'm doing this because that way I can easily see where I need to paint in the white background for Godzilla. See, he's no longer transparent, so now we can work on the background. Now as you can see, I was doing a lot of exploring and experimenting with the flame and fire brush in ProCreate, and I gotta admit, these brushes are a lot of fun to work with. I was layering over them, and I was actually using the brushes as an eraser as well, so I'm combining layers and erasing layers. After I did this, I started to realize that Godzilla was way too bright compared to the background, so I had to darken him. And because I painted a fiery background, I wanted to make the transition more natural, so I had to draw in a little bit of an orangey glowy tint as if the fire was reflecting off its body. Then I wanted to get a bit more detail in the head, combining enough elements of the Indominus Rex scales with Godzilla's kind of more chunky scales. Then I basically stole the eye color of the Indominus Rex, and I started adding highlights to the scales using white outlines, which is a very effective technique which I'm using a lot more lately. And because there's a lot of fire in this image, we need some smoke. And because there's a trend in fiery movie posters these days, I decided to add some flying embers just to really give that fiery look. And because Godzilla has a blue glowing energy when it brings up the atomic breath, I thought I wanted to incorporate that into every element. And I thought it would look particularly awesome running through the blue inspired stripe running down its back and neck. Now as I was connecting the atomic energy coming from the stripe, connecting it to the spines, I thought it would look really cool to have some of that atomic energy flowing in between the scales. And just for the record, those really cool glowing effects is another brush in ProCreate, as well as the flames and the embers. So there's some really cool effects that you can get from ProCreate. So that does it for this creation. Really, I just wanted to combine Indominus Rex with Godzilla, and I kind of want to do some more like this. So if you want to see some more kaiju-y dinosaurs, let me know and I'll go about drawing some of them. And without wanting to go into any spoilers, there were some really awesome shots in Godzilla King of the Monsters, so expect to see some cool related drawings looking like that. So if you don't want to miss those videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss those future videos. But if you can't wait for my next future videos, I've already got 2 other videos you can watch right now, so what are you waiting for? Click one of them and I'll see you there. Cheerio for now.